Hey everyone, Ashton here from MuseThemes.com, and we're going to do a walkthrough of our new Banner Connect widget from Muse. If you've ever wanted to display banner ads on your site, you're going to be really happy with this widget release. This is the ultimate method for displaying ads and keeping them updated and fresh at all times, all by simply updating a spreadsheet. No need to even open your Muse file at all or do any re-uploading or publishing. Many of you are familiar with some of our past Connect widgets and already know how seamless they integrate and how easy they are to keep updated outside of Muse itself, which is pretty awesome. Like the other Connect widgets, all of the content like images, text, styling, are all handled in a live Google Sheet, which allows you to make instant updates to the banner content via the live spreadsheet anytime you want. The widget also gives the option for CSV files instead if you wish, rather than Google Sheets. Now keep in mind, this isn't just for ads. This works great for promotions or sales in your e-commerce store, notifications like upcoming events or future releases. The tools are there at your disposal to be whatever you want it to be. Now the widget also supports any image sizing that you want. We have a few examples here on our demo. These placeholder areas are representing your site's regular content, and then we see how the banner ads, or whatever content you choose, fit in beautifully and seamlessly. Now these are just a few popular ways of displaying them, but you can use any sizing that you want. Now these are of course showing image-based ads, but you also have the capability to enter your own custom text, use image backgrounds, and of course link the banners anywhere you want. So without further ado, let's switch over to Muse so we can see how to get this thing poppin'. I've got the same project file here that we saw on the demo with the widget removed, and we're going to set it up from scratch. Now these lighter boxes here, of course, are representing our regular site content, and here in the darker boxes, let's get Banner Connect synced up and ready to show. Let's go to our library, drag out the widget, and drop it onto our page. Now feel free to size this up any which way you like. It should be sized to match the dimensions that you want the image to appear. So I'll just make it line up with this empty space down here that we've got placed here. I would also recommend checking out this blog by a website called bannersnack.com. Check out this URL up here, and I would recommend taking note of this section here for top performing banner ad sizes for reference when setting this one up. There are lots of sites and articles that discuss banner ad sizes and the industry standards for best performing sizes. If you plan to use this widget for actual advertising, it's probably best to stick to the industry standards of ad dimensions for the highest possible conversion rates. If you're actually selling advertising on your site, definitely go with these standards, as designers are already accustomed to working within these guidelines. Now back over here in Muse, you may also set the widget to responsive sizing in Muse if you want, but keep in mind that the images may become cropped when the browser is resized, as the dimensions will then change responsively. So it's recommended that you keep the resizing to none if your layout supports it. Let's jump into the settings panel for the widget. First option here is content source, and this is where you're going to choose whether you're going to use Google Sheets or a regular CSV file. Now in most cases we recommend just using the Google Sheets option. The spreadsheets here are web-based and they're easy to manage and they allow for the most functionality. When you update a Google Sheet with a new ad or a new image or text, your site will be updated instantly as well, instead of having to add a new CSV file into Muse each time. But we do offer the CSV option, as some people do prefer to use actual files that they can pass back and forth with clients offline. So the option is there if you so choose. For this demo, we're just going to leave this at Google Sheets. Now, if you do wish to go with the CSV option, we've included a CSV template file in the widget download zip file. Just update the file as needed and use the CSV file option here under content source. Next up is Google Sheets URL. Now this is where you're going to enter the Google Sheets URL for your spreadsheet, and we're going to come right back to this. Next, we have an option for image size, and you can select either original or cover. As I mentioned earlier, banner ads have standard sizes. Now, typically, a designer will submit a graphic to a site's webmaster for ad placement, and that ad will already be sized to pre-designed pixel dimensions. And in that case, you want to use the original option here and match the widget container to the image size. In other cases, if you wish to use your own custom size, or if you're using a background image behind some custom text, then you can set this to cover, which will function as a fill of the widget container rather than a full placed image. So no matter what the size of the widget container, the image will fill the space no matter what. Now one more tip here, if you're working with smaller graphics, or if you feel like you're losing some sharpness of your images due to the image being so small, you could use a larger version of the image linked here in the spreadsheet, set the image size setting to cover, but keep the widget dimensions in the standard ad size format on the Muse canvas. This will offer a sharper image quality for smaller images, since the source image is then larger. And lastly, here in this section, we have random order. Now toggling this on randomizes the ordering of the display of the items in your spreadsheet list. Now before we move on, we need to get our spreadsheet set up. Now at this point, we here at MuseThemes have done several Connect widget releases and tutorial videos, and the setup of the Google Sheets portion is pretty much the same on all of them. So I'm just going to run through the basics here really quick and hit the unique points as well. But if this is your first Connect widget that you're using, I definitely recommend going back to the first couple of Connect widget video tutorials, as they do go into pretty deep detail on the spreadsheet setup. Sidebar Connect or Gallery Connect are especially good videos for this. Down at the bottom of our widget panel here, we have a link to a Google Sheets content template. So we'll start here. Just give this a click. And we're taken to a Google Sheets template already set up and ready to go with this widget. Now, as usual, we do need to make a copy of this spreadsheet, one that we can edit ourselves, and publish it to the web so that it can live and breathe on your site. So we're going to go to File and Make a Copy. And we'll give it a name. I'll just go Ashton's Banners. Then click OK. And now we have a copy of the spreadsheet that we can now edit. Beautiful. Now we need to go to File and select Publish to the Web. And the only thing we need to change here is this second dropdown. This needs to read CSV, comma separated values. Everything else can stay the same, and we'll click Publish. Great. Now we're given our Google Sheet URL that we need for the widget. So let's select and copy this entire URL because we're going to paste it into the widget in a moment. But before we do that, let's take a look at what we've got here in our sheet. I mentioned this briefly earlier, but there are essentially two approaches to creating your banners here. The first one is image-based, and this is the most common for regular banner ads. Typically, you'll use a graphic for this, consisting of an image, some marketing text copy, and a call to action, and all of that will sit in one image, and the entire image is used as the ad, and the entire thing is also clickable. Now, the second approach is a text and image based, and this is something where you'd use kind of more of a background image for the banner, and then you'd enter your own custom text to sit over top of it here in the spreadsheet. These two columns here for title and description would be the place to do that. And you can of course style this text up with fonts, size, color, etc., all doable via these last columns here at the end of the spreadsheet. All the colors can be entered as a hex value, or an RGB value, or even by typing the color name like red or blue, etc. All of the columns going across the spreadsheet apply to a single banner, and you can create as many rows as you like to represent as many banners as you like. Just ensure that they're enabled in the very first column like you see here. And if you're using several at one time, this is where that randomizer setting from your settings panel comes into play. You can enable random, or otherwise they'll just display in the order as you have them listed here in the sheet. There's also more settings that I'll cover in a moment that determine if the current visible ad remains visible until page reload, or if they autoplay without page load. You can also simply have just one banner per spreadsheet too, which could be ideal if you're using more than one instance of the widget on your page, like if you were to have several banners visible throughout your page, all with separate sheets linked to each widget. That way the images will properly fit in the widget container size that the spreadsheet is linked to. Now let's talk about this image link. Image links have to be entered here as a full URL, which means that they have to be hosted somewhere. Something like Dropbox, Flickr, etc. would be good solutions for this. This will result in much faster page loading times as well, as opposed to hosting them on your own site's server. However, if you do want to host your own images, I have a cool trick I'll show you here before we finish the video. For right now, I'm going to use the images that we've got loaded in here as default, but let's add a few titles here so we can see how easy this is to customize. We'll leave this first one empty as that's just an image-based ad, but for the second one here, I'll change the title to Don't Miss This Sale, and the second one to Only 24 Hours Left. Okay, now let's jump back into Muse. I already copied our sheet URL, so I'm just going to paste it here. Perfect. Now let's give this a preview before we do anything else so that we can see our new sheet reflected. Great, now let's scroll down just a bit. Awesome. Now autoplay is enabled by default, so we're seeing our first image-based ad here, and once it shifts to the next, we see our next one with the new title as we added it on our spreadsheet. Awesome. Couple of more things to cover in the panel before we close out here. We've got a drop-down for autoplay settings. Now, as I mentioned, it's enabled by default, but it can be toggled off if desired. And you can set the delay in seconds, the speed in milliseconds, and select from a drop-down of transition types if you wish to give it a fade or a scroll. Next up is container styling. Now these are pretty self-explanatory, but feel free to customize. They apply to the overall widget container, and they are in addition to the styling options found in the spreadsheet. Now before we finish, I did mention earlier that I had a tip for hosting your own images if that is what you want to do. If you want to host your own images and not use a hosting service like Dropbox or Google Drive, you can actually just drop your images on a hidden page of your site. Let me jump out to my plan view here in Muse. And there's a third page here that we have for image assets. So let's click into it. As you can see, the images that we have for our banner ads have just been placed here on this page. Now this page would need to be exported with your site, but as long as it's omitted from your navigation, no one's going to know that it's there. So once you publish your site, navigate to this page on your own and right-click on any of the images and select Copy Image Address. That's the URL that you're going to want to paste into the spreadsheet, and boom, you've hosted your own images. Now, if you're going to be adding a lot of new images all the time, you probably want to use another hosting service because this method here will require you to open your Muse project and republish it in order to get those new images hosted. But it is an option that's there if you decide to do that. Okay, that's our Banner Connect widget, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for sticking this one out with me. Once you get the basics of the spreadsheet set up and your images prepared, this is actually quite simple and quick to set up. Now in this video, we only set up one banner, but if you wanted to do another banner, you could just drop that widget on the page again, size it how you like, and link it to another spreadsheet where the images match the container size. Also, if you want to use multiple instances of a banner, all the same size and with the same set of images, you can simply duplicate the widget as you've set it up and paste it in more than one place, and they can be linked to the same spreadsheet. So have some fun, thanks again for watching, and if you need any support at all, don't hesitate to reach out. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll catch you next time.